Today was day 1 of Heartsteel Cup, and incredibly enough, I usually do like a VOD review about the tourneys and some really cool games and some really bad games, but today's a bit different. For once under a blue moon, we got a little bit of TFT drama going on, which is very peculiar because normally TFT is an incredibly wholesome community, but we have a little bit of drama going on today, and today I just want to report it. I am just stating what I've observed, so obviously do your own research, but this is what I've seen. I'm gonna always have a bit of an opinion on it. I will do my best not be biased, but no promises, you know. I'm gonna be a little biased in here, but anyways, moving on. I'm glad I got that out of the way. You might be on Twitter, you might be seeing some things. First off, at Joe Bookmark, who, if you don't know, he is a very well-known challenger player in the TFT community, most particularly known for pioneering the Caitlyn legend back in set 9, but he basically tweeted this out: just watched a grown-ass man intentionally grieve someone else's tournament run because they broke his Heartsteel streak. Grow up. And it's a bit cryptic, you don't really know what's going on, but another tweet from Bobster, who provides a bit more context. He goes, at Sphinxies, absolutely disgusting behavior for a 32-year-old man during last game of Heartsteel Cup Day 1. A stain on the beautiful TFT community, which he links a clip. But before we talk about the clip, let's talk a little bit about the players at hand here, exactly what the hell's going on. And you need to know a little bit of context, because if maybe you follow TFT very casually, and totally understandable. You don't breathe and live TFT. Like, that's like a normal person. Totally understandable. So we're going to provide a little bit of context here, okay? First off, players at hand, Sphinxies09. This guy is a challenger player. I don't know too much about it. I guess his name is Mike. 32-year-old from Connecticut in the US. He's an engineer. Plays TFT competitively sometimes and is currently challenger and participating in Heartsteel Cup. Very cool. I did not know anything about this guy until today. Groxy, very well-known TFT challenger player as well throughout the community. Also very well-known, very good player. Challenger as well. Sometimes casts. Really nice guy from my experiences talking to him. And again, these are just two normal dudes. What could possibly go wrong? Well, first off, we have to talk about a little bit about the comps, the main lines, and why they matter, and why this context is important. You'll understand in a bit. First off, the drama surrounds executioners, specifically executioner reroll. Now, when it comes to TFT at the competitive level, there are what are called main lines. And main lines are basically lines / compositions that pros will lean towards or try to play whenever they play in the competition, because they are objectively, from what people can understand, really, really strong, and you want to build a strong board to win out the lobby, right? So you don't really deviate too often from main lines, but the two main lines are, first off, 6 Executioner. This is without Twin Terror, and if you play TFT even just a little bit, you might know about Twin Terror, Vex, and Twitch. These are the two main lines. Now, the problem is this. Both of these lines are requiring a very specific and crucial piece, and that is Amumu 3. You cannot do well with this line without Amumu 3. At best, you can secure a 4th if your spot is good enough for it, and maybe get by with some lucky matchmaking as a weak lobby. But generally speaking, if you want to do well with this line, you have to get Amumu 3 and you have to get Vex 3. Twitch 3 or Samira 3 is typically the secondary carry. It depends on the way you play it. Twin Terror, you are normally primary Twitch, and then in the non-Twin Terror version, it's actually Vex, and then Samira or Twitch is the secondary carry. So, little nuances, but the big thing, again, is Amumu and Vex. Now, why are these two so crucial and important? Well, first off, there are limited numbers of 3-cost copies inside of the bag. And what I mean by this is basically there is a limited number of Amumus that players can take out inside of an entire lobby, right? Out of 8 players, there are only 17 copies of an Amumu, aka 17 copies of any 3-cost. So this is where sort of things get a little dicey. Because there's only 17 copies, that means only 2 players, or sorry, rather 1 player max can actually 3-star their Amumu. If 2 players run the same composition, there is a risk that 1 player will not hit the Amumu. And crazy enough, because you're both pulling the same units out of the same bag, suddenly it's harder for both of you to hit the same unit, which is why at the competitive highest level, you want to try to figure out your direction early and make sure you're not contested. Because if you're contested or you are contesting someone, you better have a good damn reason. And in fact, contesting is very rare at the top level, and it only really happens if you have a really good spot for it, or you are target griefing, which is sort of the drama that's sort of occurring today. You don't really necessarily go from one completely separate line and then pivot into another one that have 2 completely separate units, 2 completely separate items, and, you know, directions that they're both trying to go for. So that is where the drama is sort of existing, because again, you don't really pivot from one completely different line to another. So this is the clip in question, but I'm going to show you actually the clip in DaVinci Resolve, and the reason why is because I actually recorded the whole VOD, because I think there's a little more context that just gets lost in the clip that you don't exactly see, which sort of constitutes as to why people are sort of labeling this as target griefing. So first off, as you can see here, Sphinxes, he's running 5 hearts steal, a very strong, super strong start. He has already raised the stakes. Now, raising the stakes basically means that you do not want to win no matter what. If you win, it is really, really bad because you lose basically half your stacks and you are in a really, really bad spot. And it makes it very difficult to try to recover and get your heartsteal back up. In general, in the competitive level, if you lose your raise the stakes, you have lost the game. It's usually how it goes. It's very rare for people to be able to recover from that spot, but you still try to recover in case it happens. Now, as you can see here, Groxy, who is the other player, has exposed weakness, and he has Amumu and Twitch. His comp is already in a really good spot. He has so much money to try and play this line. His spot is actually very strong, especially because he has BIS Amumu with Gargoyles. So his spot's already amazing for execution or reroll. It's very obvious he's playing this line. Anybody at the challenger level is going to be able to, even like GM, even Masters, to be honest, is going to see this and go, this guy's playing executioners. It's very clear as day. That is his gameplay. As we can see here in the clip, it sees that Sphinxes actually loses. Now, you can actually see on the top left, you actually can't see it because my camera's covering it, but he's actually typing a little bit in chat, but he actually deletes all of it. But instead of not saying anything, he actually types it in his own Twitch chat and he goes, okay, I'll buy executioners. Now, that is sort of the first red flag. And then the second red flag is this. He has Heartsteel Spat. He should definitely play Ezreal Zed from the spot. But this is where the next red flag happens, where in his team planner, as you can see, he has Ezreal Zed. He has basically the whole comp ready, mapped out, ready to go. Like this is the correct line of thinking. He should be trying to lean into this line. It makes sense from the spot, especially with the Spat. Now, he actually clears his team planner and starts buying the executioners. So basically he's saying, you know what? Fuck you, Groxy. You basically ruined the game for me. I'm going to ruin the game for you, and I'm going to hold and buy all your units. Go fuck yourself. It's basically what he's saying in this clip. Obviously, his mic is off, but I'm going to assume that's what he was saying. But here, as we can see, he has 1 Twitch, 1 Vex, and his items are still... They're actually not that bad for the executioner line, but to go from this particular spot, with again, he has 5 Heartsteel. Very, very... It's arguably the best opener in the competitive meta. He has the best opener that you can get at the competitive level, and he says, nah, fuck it, I have 2 units in this line, I'm going to pivot and I am going to grief. He didn't say he's going to grief, but based off his actions, it's pretty evident that's what he's trying to lean for. Also, based off his item stamps, he has stuff like Hodge and GA that he'll lean towards into Zed. He also has like GS and like open tier and like cloak for potentially like Evan Shroud and stuff, and like steadfast if he wants the tempo with a strong tank, which he does. He has, you know, he has the Kazante. He has lines available to him leaning towards the Ezreal Zed line. So the fact that he's saying, hey, nah, fuck that shit, I'm just gonna do executioners, red flag. Red flag number 2. And then sort of the final, I mean, it's already a pretty red flag. Anybody at the competitive level is going to see this and think like this guy's just target griefing. But the third red flag is actually once he hits his augment selections, which I'm going to speed this up a bit so you can see it. But basically his augment selections come up, his 3-2 augments come up, and he actually hits Twin Terror, which if you don't know is really, really strong for the executioner comp. We actually talked about just a tiny little bit. But by taking Twin Terror here, he's basically saying, fuck you. As in like, fuck you, Groxy, I will contest you no matter what. Because now this locks him into Twin Terror. He has to play executioners. Sure, there are other ways of playing Twin Terror, but from this spot now with the Vex and the Twitch, and because we have lost streak, we are sort of incentivized to reroll. Twin Terror now becomes a very, very nice option here, and it makes sense as to why you may want to take it. But again, we have Heartsteel Spat, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. And he did get gifts, which is a really great Heartsteel augment. But he decides not to go for it. He takes Twin, and he actually starts rolling here just so he can get the Twitch headliner immediately and already start target griefing Groxy. Now, I'm going to speed up the clip a little bit more here. He does roll a bit deeper. But this is basically sort of the start of the griefing. And basically, this is fast forward to the end of the game. As you can tell, he actually ends up going 4th. Because he actually managed to hit before Groxy did because he was rolling significantly earlier than he was. But as you can tell on the right-hand side, Groxy actually ends up going 6th. You can also see on the right-hand side, people are already saying 32-year-old, fuck griefing because you can't make it. Time to go outside, do something productive. Some other people said raise the stakes next time, bro. Good job. Yeah, not a good look in the competitive scene. So that is sort of where we're at right now with all of this drama. Now, before you say, hey, Groxy saw that this guy just was target griefing him, he should just pivot to a different line. Here's the problem. Again, we're playing at the highest level of competitive. If he were to switch his line, the only sort of semi-viable line from that spot would be Karthus Akali. But there's a bit of a problem. First off, this goes a bit more into what the patch is about in the meta, but if you are loose streaking early, typically you are aiming to reroll. If you lose streak early and then try to play standard boards, as in 4 costs, you're going to have a bad time. because you don't have the HP to work with at level 8, and you are going to bleed out and die way too fast before you get your board actually online that is competitive. Another thing too, just based off the stats, he took exposed weakness at 2-1, which is actually by itself an incredibly strong augment. It's actually a 4.18 average at 2-1. You're statistically almost always supposed to take this augment if it gets offered to you and you just play into executioners again at the highest level. But let's say, for example, he said, you know what, I'm getting target creep, I should just play a Kali contest or something else. That is the only semi-viable line from that spot, and even then, again, like we talked about, he already had bled out his HP, he already lost streak, he already committed to it, and even if he were to pivot into it, it averages a 5. So, it's not good. So, what I'm trying to say is this. Groxy got kind of forced into a bad hand because this other guy said, fuck you, you fucked my streak, I'm going to grief for units. And that is sort of where we're at today, because Groxy was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? Like, why would you do that? You can even see, actually, in Bobster's tweet here, Sphinxes actually responds, he goes, it was a frustrating tournament for me, and yes, I shouldn't have played Twitch reroll from that spot. He even admits that, like, that was the incorrect play to do. It was wrong, but he got rewarded for it because he happened to find the units particularly quickly, despite, you know, contesting so late. But he wrote, human emotions took over, so I apologize for that. I still ended up getting 4th though, so it worked out for me. Very mature on your end as well, coming into my chat, and then posted a screenshot about people, you know, posting this stuff, which, you know, I'm not saying that they were right to do that, but I mean, people get frustrated. You can argue that it was human emotions. I apologize, but they were also on human emotions. So I don't know. It's a bit messy. So, I mean, look, what does this mean? I don't know. Basically nothing. When it comes to TFT competitive, like, contesting somebody else for a specific line is not against the rules. It's not. But there is this weird ambiguous area of, are you contesting because it's correct, or are you contesting because you're target griefing? And there's no clear-cut way of being like, you know, this was this and that was that. But it's hard, because where do you draw the line, right? In this example, it's, at least at the competitive level, it's very evident that this was just target griefing. Just straight up target griefing, which isn't okay. And now both these players did not make it to day 2, but you may also argue, hey, if the stakes were higher, now why does it matter then, right? It should matter regardless of the stakes at hand, no pun intended. But with that being said, do I think, like, Sphinxes should, like, see, like, banned from competitive play? I mean, I don't think indefinitely. But, like, do I think there should be, like I personally, from this, what I see, I feel like, and again, this is my personal opinion, and whether you agree or disagree, totally okay. Totally, I'd love to hear your opinion. But personally, I would like to see a 1-year ban. Personally, I think what he did was pretty fucked up, but I think, like, take a couple sets off, come back, totally fine. He's an engineer. He'll be fine. But I mean, in general, something like that typically does permit a ban of some type, especially at the competitive level, because if stakes were higher, like let's say this was day 3 and he does something like that and griefs somebody from actually being able to win out a tourney, that's now money's on the line, now like status is on the line and clout and all this stuff, and that's, you know, the stakes get higher. So, you know, nip it in the butt while it's still a small problem, if you ask me, in my opinion. But that's just how I see it. I'd love to hear your opinion on this topic. If more stuff comes out, Riot has some sort of a response to this, I'll keep you guys updated, I guess. I mean, I'm just reporting this shit. I just thought it was pretty interesting to have drama on day 1. Not something we have very often, but anyways, hope this was informative in case you have been seeing cryptic tweets on Twitter. And until next time, I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. I'll be co-streaming day 2 KDA, not KDA, sorry, Hearthstone Cup with Raptor probably, and some other people probably. We'll see how it goes. But until then, see you guys all later. Take care, guys, and please don't grief in tourneys. Happy climbing. Yay, sounds good.